one morning, just as the sun rose, let a voice from the masthead cried out, "There she blows!"
Well, the reason we're here is that about 40 years ago now, the whaling station at Tory Channel closed, and over the time they were whaling here, they collected lots of data about the number of whales they saw and killed going through Cook Strait. So we've come back 40 years later to just see how many there are here now and compare what they saw with what we see here now. Yeah, well, it made sense really to involve the original people who sat here on the side of the hill doing it 40 years ago. They're all getting on now, but they're doing a pretty good job. They're still spotting most of the whales for the team, so they haven't lost anything over the 40 years they've been away from it. One of the interesting things is the last few years of the whaling station here at Tory Channel, they saw less than 20 whales in the whole 2 or 3 month period they were sitting here. Now we're sitting here for only 2 weeks and we're seeing 30 to 50 whales in that same period. So that's a really good sign. That shows that after 40 years of protection, the whales have come back to a certain degree, but still nowhere near the numbers they were before the commercial whaling and Antarctic whaling took huge numbers of them.
Dividing New Zealand in 2 halves is Cook Strait, and at its narrowest part only 12 miles separates the North Island from the south. Looking out over its waters are men of the Tory Channel whaling station searching for whales. All that can be seen at the moment is the ferry steamer Tamahini heading for Wellington.
We're doing most of our land-based research from the east head of Tory Channel, which is where we are now. What we're trying to do here is essentially replicate what they did 40 years ago at the whaling station, so we can compare the numbers we see this year with the numbers they saw. So we really need their input into how they did it so that the numbers we see can be directly compared with them.
And there she blows! In the bay lie 3 fast whale chasers, and there goes the first of the crews. There she is, and the gunner is ready to fire the harpoon with its deadly explosive head.
The old whalers, they really give us some connection with New Zealand history and the commercial whaling that used to be a part of our history. So it's exciting to work with them and just see how things have moved along and people's attitudes have changed.
At the lookout, another score is notched. Then, searching the seas again from daylight to dark for the whales, following the invisible paths they've travelled for centuries.
Out to Tory Channel, and we're going to get out to the entrance, and we're hopeful that we'll hear from the whale watchers that they've seen a whale on our way out, so we can go directly out to Cook Strait. That's the migration route for the whales, and that's you can just about set your clock by them for a period of about a month of the year. They come through on their migration north towards Tonga from the Antarctic. They're virtually doing a reenactment of what they used to do when they used to harpoon them. Seeing where they are, then they send a boat down, and instead of a harpoon, they've replaced it with a biopsy dart, which is takes a very small core tissue, about 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre of the whale's blubber, and they can then get that DNA tested to find out the origins of the whales and where they're heading. So it's a great little story. Instead of the harpooning of them, we're using a very minute harpoon these days, and hopefully for the benefit of the whales as opposed to in the old days to the demise of the whale. What is it? I think it's a bird. You still on the outside?
No, I'm not. I'm sort of moving on the outside. I'll move inside again.
I've probably got a better vision than what you have, so I'll move around a wee bit.
Okay, well, I'll just keep a view.
I've got the cape.
Yeah, I've got the mirrors one there, right here, grass, John.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the outside gap now.
Yep.
I was watching these wakes there.
Wakes are still there.
He's breathing
Still
underwater.
there, see it showing there now?
He's travelling underwater.
Breathing underwater, Peter.
We've run there up to the pyramid there now.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah. They're in a good quality.
Yeah, well, right through school, that was my big ambition, it was in the blood, 5th generation of whaling, and I remember, you know, there was a little guy playing on the beach here, you know, we were always hunting whales along the beach and toy boats and whatever, so when I was at college, Dad rang me up and said, we're going to go whaling at Great Barrier, and you know, I couldn't pack my bag quick enough to join the rest of them, and spent 1 year on the mothership up there as just sort of a decky, and then got the opportunity to go gunning, so it was certainly the thrill of my life.
I went to school in Wellington and had the ambitions to be a veterinary surgeon of all things, which meant a trip to Australia, and seeing there's 12 in the family, and Dad was a fisherman, I ended up a fisherman. Yeah, no, we didn't have enough money for that sort of carry on. And my first forebear, Patrick, arrived here around about 1827, 1829, and from there on in they were involved in whaling. I was fourth or fifth generation. There's Patrick, Dad's father, Dad. I was the fourth generation whaler, and of course it was always in our blood. And there was a retirement. Max Kenny retired at the time, and Gilly came and asked me whether I'd like to go on the hill, but even though I was very keen, I didn't want to look behind glasses all the time, and I said no. A fortnight after that, he asked me whether I'd like to go on the gun, but that was different altogether. So that's where I ended up.
Well, probably most interesting character was Alf Crummell, the skipper of the Orca. He was a pilot during the Second World War, a ship pilot inside the Barrier Reef. He was a very intelligent sort of chap. He'd surveyed all the Queensland coast. All the charts over in Queensland have got his name on it. Very likeable chap. I used to get on well with him. Yeah.
Too far south now. Yeah.
Towards Cape Campbell, there he is, straight ahead of Roy. If you look down at Terry Swass's barge, he's actually that fishing boat ahead of Terry Swass. He's in line with that, and on the hill.
It wakes up in front of the boat.
Stephen? A little bit inside that.
Inside.
But on the
Yeah, Roger, we've got a sighting directly off our bow, probably 600 metres.
Yep. Yep, they're definitely heading south.
It's going down.
Yep.
You sort of seem to arrive at it late all the time. It's there again, just one.
Yeah. Oh, that was good spotting.
I'm looking at it right now, but it's gone.
And slightly to
Another whale we've found. In from them.
About a mile and a half inside.
Come out here, Joe, and Mummy will show you.
Oh, Heather saw it.
I've spotted my first whale this season, so I'm quite happy about that.
How many seasons have you been coming out doing this?
This is just my second season, and I didn't spot anything last year, so I was questioning my skills. So it's good to have spotted something this morning. It's been a bit quiet compared to last year, actually. Last year we were getting, well, in the equivalent week we had 30 odd whales, and this week we've only done a handful, 5 or 6, so we're hoping for more.
So the job needs a bit of patience.
It does indeed. It's going well though, so fingers crossed for more today. It looks like it might be a good day.
How are we heading? Back out, right? Oh, yeah, is that going to get down to any more, or is this just a boat? Still there, they're going to come again. I can still see them under the water. There they are.
Got it.
There they are. Look, look, look.
Got a shot here, Joe. Yeah, looks lovely.
Well, the team on the hill has the hard job. They sit there with binoculars all day long. When they see a whale, they give us a radio call and we head out to try and find it. There's 2 bits of information we're collecting: the photo identification of the whales, which we can get off the bottom of the tail, and some genetic samples, and collecting a small biopsy sample, and that lets us sex the individual, identify it along the lines of DNA fingerprinting, and tell what population it belongs to. Does it belong to the Australian population or the South Pacific population? So that's kind of what we're here now doing, waiting for the whalers and the team up the hill to give us a call.
Picking the dart up now. Yeah. No, it's probably underwater.
Yeah, you can flip the flippers out like that.
You gotta come again.
There
Oh,
it is.
Big one.
Got a fluke up this time? No. See it wakes up in front of the boat? John.
You always lay claim to the biggest one, John.
The boat just went and tried for a biopsy attempt, and the whale came up right next to the boat. And what they do is they use a modified .22 rifle to shoot a biopsy dart into the side of the whale, and what happens is it hits the whale and it pops back out again, and it retains a little skin sample just about the size of my little fingernail. And some of the whales don't respond to biopsy at all. Others, they have a slight response, like they might do a tail swish. In this occasion, the whale actually had quite a strong response to biopsy and looked like it did a bit of big tail slap, and so there was a bit of white water around the boat. So it didn't, it was quite a strong response to biopsy, which you see very rarely.
Here they come just there, look, see?
Thank you.
Come again! Here they are. Here they come. Get a shot this time. They might have got a shot, didn't they? Get him!
We just had 2 whales, a very large, probably an adult female and a smaller adult. And we just got 1 photo ID of the tail fluke, and we just got 2 biopsies. So we're pretty happy with that, really happy with that.
Two very good whales. Look like a cow and a bull, mature whales, and acting pretty normal. Easy to get alongside of, and we can stir them up, so it's good. Yeah, we got a couple more samples, skin samples, so that's what it's all about. Scientific study of the humpback whales and whether the numbers are increasing or decreasing, so it's good to be part of it. This is a memorial for Mum and Dad, built by all the old whalers, so it's a pretty special thing being in the bay here, looking out over the bay, with one of the harpoons that we used to use on top of it, donated by one of the whaling families, so yeah, it's pretty special to our family.
a gunner all his life, fourth generation whaler, and shot over 100 whales, so yeah, Dad enjoyed life right to the bitter end, and it's great to have something here to remember them.
I started whaling, I think, in about 1958, and I finished in 64 when the whaling finished. I think I was about 18 when I started. My first job, fortunately, was on the lookout hill, and I went out on the boats. And then with the sperm whaling off the coast of Kaikoura and Cape Palliser, and ended up flying the spotter plane, and then the whaling finished, and that was the end of my career in that stage. Basically, my grandfather started up in 1911, and then the business continued on in the whaling until 1964, which is when we finished. So we went through 3 generations in that time. I was the last generation involved. Well, the only difference from what we're doing today is the altitude. We were a bit higher up on the hill than we were in the old lookout hill, and the team was still the same jokes, same good company. When the whale was spotted, they would check to see where it was, how far out, and pick up our boots and stuff and run down the hill and hop in the dinghy and jump in the boats and go and catch the thing. It was common sense, all the safety measures. You knew what to do. You couldn't afford to make mistakes. It was a very painful experience, at least. And you were very careful as to what you did, but you drove things hard. And, you didn't aim to fall in the tide, and therefore you didn't. And that's how it went. That, as a natural fact, my father couldn't even swim. He sank to the bottom when he went in the water. But he insisted that I learned to swim when I was a child. I don't ever remember anything in my whaling career that I regarded as a bad sort of a thing. It was very fulfilling, very active, and I was always very sorry when the season finished. A lot of it was the company of the other whalers indeed, and we had a lot of fun. We worked hard together and enjoyed each other's company.
We loved it. I loved the work. You didn't worry about what conditions were like. It just took what was there for granted because you loved it. Probably the worst part was on these small chases, and the wind was, say, 30 mile an hour. You were going into it at 30 mile an hour, and the rain used to hit your cheeks, and that used to hurt.
Just an overgrown shotgun, really. They broke open to load like a shotgun, and you pushed the harpoon down the barrel and cocked it by pulling the hammer back, and that was it. You're only in a 36-foot boat, and they were pretty lively if you were charged into a head sea or something, and you're ducking and diving and what have you, and you'd think a whale was real easy to hit, but it was real easy to skip off the back of it or go over the top of it or hit too much water and not, hit the whale. It was, some days it was real easy, but it was real easy to have a miss too, and everybody let you know if you did have a miss.
I'd done a bit of hunting and that pig hunting, but I'd never hunted animals this big, and it was really exciting. It was just like big game hunting, and I was young and keen, and I can remember I'd shot about 7 whales, and I came home one night, my wife said to me, "What's it like?" I said, "Oh, they're that big you can't miss them." That was the start of it. From there on in I had skips and misses and all sorts, but I fluked the first 7. Yes, it was a very exciting job, and it was a dangerous job, but I think with the youth on your side, and you're bulletproof, you never thought of it like that really, and you learnt quick, you had to. I learnt with Joe Peranos, who I was on the boat with Joe Peranos, and he was a pretty hard taskmaster. He never said what to do, he always said what not to do. And he used to yell out, "Don't do that, and don't do this," and at the end of the day, if he didn't yell at you, he did it right.
This particular one is the harpoon off the Orca, the Norwegian style harpoon. When the gun was fired, 5 seconds later, that time fuse would shoot a jet of flame up into the blasting powder up in the grenade, and the whole lot would explode and kill the whale instantly. See the whale going along, harpoon hitting him, all the rope piling up, and then you'd see boom, and the whale would just roll over stone dead. Yeah.
There we go, Joe. Well, that wasn't as neat. We better do that again.
Have another go, make another one so you can get it better.
I hear a little bit of a difference from the old days is that the women are getting pretty good at the spotting.
Yeah, well, they've showed us up today, haven't they? All 3 whales were seen by females in the back row, so yeah, no, it's good. It's good to see, you know, the other girls that are involved in the whole survey that they're as keen as we are.
I think it took us a couple of years to get into a good rhythm. We've got, at that stage we had 5 whalers, and they were in their 60s and 70s. And then we had a bunch of young, mostly dock people who were kind of coming along, working alongside them, using equipment that the whalers weren't familiar with, and then the whalers were using equipment that we weren't familiar with. So I think there was an initial separation, but over the years we've become quite close, and new people have been welcomed into that family. And I don't know, I think we learn a lot from them and enjoy their company, and I think they do as well.
This here is a bit of a possum skin. I thought it might be easier on my backside. Might bring me a bit of luck. And yeah, that's as far as the seating goes. I've got a bony arse, so I need all the comforts I can get. State of the art thing, of course. A lot of homework went into this, and it's a bit better than those old butter boxes that the boys are using over there in the far corner there. This is a bit of a console. I can put my cup of tea here. And my sandwiches, whatever. Somewhere to stow my chocolate. The 9 hour day we do it up here. You're on the glass for about 8 hours. You're putting in a lot of sighting time, whereas years ago, if you stayed on the glass for an hour, that was a big time. That's how things have changed and how the whales aren't there. The reason being for those brackets like that, this isn't centre mounted, these glasses. You can't put one in the centre like the rest of the glasses around here. So I had to manufacture something that would hold the glasses, otherwise I was stymied. So yeah, it worked quite good actually.
And obviously the finishing touch is on top of your head.
Oh, that's yeah, it's a purely comfort thing. It's the old story, if you're cold you can't drink beer, or if you're cold you can't sight whales, I reckon. You know, when you weren't looking out out through the glasses, you were making your own fun. They had a dartboard there, and we were having go up Burma Road and Shanghai and all that. And later on, Heberley, he came round there one day, but he came round in front of us on stilts. So then we were all making stilts, and we used to have quite battles trying to knock one another off them. And we had them buggered over the whaling station. Through their glasses, they could see us all up in there, but they didn't know how the hell we got there. They could, in the past, they see us just wandering around on top of the hill. But you just boredom and monotony, you had to do something silly like that.
You know, I think we rapidly changed from being hunters to guys that were pretty still in shock to know that somebody had basically took the whale population to being, you know, in really good stance down to virtually extinct. So we were shocked, and to think that the Russians and the Japanese had sort of killed them to that extent in the Antarctic, that it was sad. It was real sad. So it's great to be a part of it now and seeing the numbers coming up.
I guess I've always felt I've had a connection with whales, and that's why I chose to work in this area. They're different individually. It's really fascinating to observe their different behaviours and the way that they react to you. And you've just got to respect an animal of that size. You know, they've sustained themselves despite what we've done to them. And they're so gentle with us despite what we've done to them. And that's really amazing. I mean, we get into situations accidentally where we've got too close to the whale, and it could easily just wipe us out with a flick of the tail, and they take the utmost care to not hurt us in any way. And there's something really touching about that, and I think there's a lot that we can actually learn from them about that.
It's sort of a step back, a big step back in time. It's a step back 50 years. Just what we used to do then. Only we're not doing it to kill them now, we're just doing it to spot them for the Conservation Department. And I am really enjoying it.
I think they do like to have us up there, and we love to have them. And you know, like one of the really special things that I've heard Tom Nortons say is that it feels like they have their youth back. You know, they're with their old mates doing a similar thing that they used to do. And, you know, in those days when they were whaling, family or backing each other up or being really tight was really important for survival and for the success of the job. And I think that's certainly true today as well.
We were once whalers and we once killed them. Now we're all conservationists. You know, there's only one thing we want to do now is save the whales. So no, it's great to be part of it, and it's just like going back whaling, except we're not killing them, we're trying to save them.
It was a 7-day-a-week job, and best job we ever had, I suppose. Loved it, and that's why I'm down here today.
I enjoyed it as a job. I enjoyed the camaraderie, the jokes and the laughs and the hard times, and to be able to go back over it again, yet it's really something. It really is. Yep. I'm enjoying every bit, actually, yeah. Wishing I was young again.
It's been great, you know, we've all whaled together. Peter and I shot my last whale with Peter out here in Cook Strait on the Ballina, and you know, we've all got huge history of whaling amongst all of us, and generations before us were always Nortons or Peranos or Heberleys, so yeah, it's just great to be together, you know. It's really whaling, you know. I got a hell of a thrill this morning when I went out with you to film those two whales, so it's great. It's just great to be a part of it.
Too right, yes. Oh, I wouldn't have missed it for the world. It's sure, you don't often get a chance to go back into time like we have and still enjoy the company, still have the same practical jokes pulled on you and all these things. It's wonderful to do it again.
Well, Heberley, did I tell any lies?
The whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Well, as near as I could remember it.